The Pacific Ocean is the arena for a high-stakes rivalry between the United States and China. US and Chinese warships and aircraft constantly shadow each other, maintaining a fragile balance that could be shattered by a single misstep. The South China Sea is a flashpoint, with both nations asserting their right to operate in contested waters. Aircraft carriers like the USS Valiant symbolize American power, while China's new carriers and J-20 fighters challenge that dominance. The skies above are crowded with advanced machines and highly trained pilots, each side testing the other's resolve. This tense status quo has held for years, until last week when something unprecedented happened. An event not of aggression but desperation forced both superpowers to confront a new reality. The incident aboard the USS Valiant wasn't an act of war, but a human drama on a military stage. It shattered the rules of engagement, reminding us that behind the geopolitical chess match are individuals facing life-or-death decisions. The world's most powerful militaries were suddenly united by a crisis neither side expected. In the end, it was not about power but about humanity. The Pacific, unpredictable as ever, became the setting for a story that would test both nations' values. This is how a Chinese fighter jet ended up on an American carrier, and how a single moment changed everything. September 22, 2025, the USS Valiant is conducting routine operations in the Philippine Sea. Suddenly, radar picks up an unidentified, fast-moving aircraft with an erratic flight path. The bridge watches in alarm as the jet ignores radio calls and draws closer. Visual ID, a Chinese J-20 Mighty Dragon, China's most advanced stealth fighter. This is no ordinary encounter. The J-20's landing gear is down, signaling distress. The Valiant's crew faces an unthinkable scenario. A Chinese stealth jet is trying to land on their deck. The pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Han Lin, is later identified as a top Chinese aviator on a training mission gone wrong. His jet suffered catastrophic systems failure, navigation and comms dead, one engine out, fuel nearly gone. Alone and desperate, Han Lin must choose eject over the ocean or attempt the impossible, land on a US carrier. The Valiant's captain has seconds to decide: allow a potential enemy to land, or risk a pilot's life and a global incident. The crew braces as the J-20 lines up for final approach. This is not in any manual. The world holds its breath. The fate of a pilot and the balance of power hangs in the balance. The deck is ready. The moment is now. A Chinese Dragon is about to land on American steel. Lieutenant Colonel Han Lin, a veteran pilot, faces disaster mid-flight. Avionics fail, an engine dies, and he's losing fuel fast. With no way to communicate and no hope of rescue if he ejects, Han scans the horizon for salvation. Through the clouds, he spots the USS Valiant, a last chance. Landing on a US carrier means risking China's military secrets, but survival instincts take over. Han lowers his landing gear, signaling peaceful intent, and prepares for a carrier landing he's only studied in theory. He knows the Americans might see him as a threat, but he has no choice. The J-20 isn't built for carrier landings, and Han has one shot. He trusts in the unwritten code of the sea aid those in distress, even a rival. As he approaches, every second is a gamble. Will the Americans help or defend their ship? Han focuses on his training, blocking out fear and politics. He's a pilot first, and his life now depends on the professionalism of the US Navy. The Valiant's crew watches, torn between protocol and compassion. The world's eyes are on the Pacific, waiting for the outcome. Han's decision is a breach of duty, but a triumph of survival. In this moment, the rivalry fades, replaced by a shared human struggle. The impossible is about to be attempted. The next seconds will define history. Landing a jet on a carrier is a controlled crash. 500 feet of steel, arresting cables, and no room for error. The J-20, a land-based fighter, isn't designed for this. No reinforced gear, no specialized tailhook. Han Lin must improvise, aiming for the arresting wires with a jet never meant for carrier landings. He approaches at the perfect angle, engines roaring, hoping his standard tailhook will catch. The deck crew braces as the J-20 slams down, sparks flying. Miraculously, the tailhook snags the third wire. The jet screeches to a halt, feet from the edge. The landing is rough, undercarriage damaged, but Han and the jet survive. The flight deck is silent, stunned by what they've witnessed. A Chinese stealth fighter trapped at sea now sits on an American carrier. The impossible has happened. The crew rushes to secure the scene, adrenaline surging. This moment will be studied for years. Han Lin's skill and luck have averted disaster. The Valiant's deck is now the center of the world's attention. The boundaries of rivalry and rescue have blurred. The Pacific has delivered a new legend. The dragon is down, but the story is just beginning. The crew prepares for what comes next. History has landed on the Valiant. The J-20's landing transforms the Valiant's deck from chaos to controlled response. Crash teams swarm the jet, checking for fire and fuel leaks while security forms a cautious perimeter. The captain orders professionalism. This is a pilot in distress, not an enemy. Han Lin, exhausted but unharmed, emerges with hands raised, following the crew's signals. He's met by officers, offered medical care, and treated with respect. The exchange is tense but guided by tradition and humanity. The crew moves the damaged J-20 to a secure area, covering it from prying eyes. Every action is deliberate: aid the pilot, protect U.S. interests. The Valiant's crew knows the world is watching. They balance compassion with caution, aware of the stakes. The incident is unprecedented, but their response is measured. The pilot is safe, the jet secured, and the crisis contained, for now. The next steps will test diplomacy and discipline. The Valiant has done its duty, but the real challenge is just beginning. News of the incident races through Washington and Beijing. The Pentagon emphasizes the humanitarian rescue, not confrontation. Admiral Aquilino praises the crew. We help those in distress, regardless of nationality. The message is clear: this was a rescue, not a provocation. In Beijing, officials are silent at first, then issue a brief statement: a training accident, emergency landing, thanks for U.S. assistance. Both sides avoid inflammatory language, seeking to control the narrative. Behind the scenes, analysts see opportunity and risk. U.S. experts call it an intelligence windfall. Chinese commentators praise Han's skill but worry about secrets lost. The real story, some say, is the captain's choice: humanity over hostility. The incident becomes a test of restraint and professionalism. Diplomats scramble to manage fallout, knowing the world is watching. The Valiant's actions set a tone for de-escalation. Both nations must now navigate the aftermath. The crisis could divide or unite rivals. The next moves will shape the future of U.S.-China relations. The J-20's presence on the Valiant sparks a diplomatic standoff. For the U.S., it's an intelligence bonanza, access to China's top fighter. Analysts push to exploit the opportunity, but leaders weigh the risks of escalation. China demands the immediate return of pilot and jet, calling any U.S. inspection a hostile act. National pride and security are at stake for both sides. The incident becomes a high-stakes negotiation, echoing the 2001 Hainan Island crisis, but with roles reversed. Both nations face pressure at home and abroad to resolve the standoff without losing face. Diplomats work behind closed doors, seeking a solution that avoids conflict. The world watches as Washington and Beijing test their ability to manage crisis through dialogue. The fate of the pilot and the jet hangs in the balance. Intelligence, pride, and peace are all on the line. The Valiant incident is a crucible for U.S.-China relations. The outcome will set a precedent for future encounters. The Pacific's calm hides a storm of negotiation. After tense negotiations, a deal is struck. The U.S. will return both Han Lin and the J-20. Diplomacy wins out over short-term intelligence gains. The Valiant meets a Chinese ship in the Philippine Sea for the handover. Han Lin, healthy and grateful, salutes the Valiant's captain before departing. The damaged J-20 is carefully transferred to a Chinese transport vessel. Both sides monitor the operation, ensuring transparency. While the U.S. claims no technical analysis was done, experts believe valuable data was quietly gathered. The gesture of return is seen as an act of goodwill, easing tensions. In the aftermath, U.S. and Chinese military leaders hold video conferences to improve crisis communication. The incident opens a new channel for dialogue, leading to the creation of a direct military hotline. Both sides recognize that as their forces operate closer together, better protocols are essential. The Valiant incident becomes a catalyst for cooperation, however limited. A crisis has become an opportunity for progress. The Valiant incident is a defining moment in U.S.-China relations. It shows that even in an era of rivalry, humanity and professionalism can prevail. The image of a Chinese stealth jet on an American carrier is a symbol of both danger and hope. The crisis could have escalated, but instead became a lesson in restraint. The event highlights the urgent need for reliable communication between militaries. The new hotline is a start, but more safeguards are needed as operations overlap. The safety of pilots and sailors depends on it. The story of Han Lin and the Valiant is a reminder. Behind the headlines are individuals making impossible choices. The strategic rivalry endures, but for a moment, compassion triumphed. The Pacific remains unpredictable, but this incident proved dialogue is possible. The world saw that saving a life can transcend any flag. The future is uncertain, but the lesson is clear. Even rivals can choose a different path, if only for a moment.